Hi, welcome to the channel. In today's video we are looking at a nice compact little one-man tent. It is the OEX Phoxx 1 V2, so the second version of the tent. There are a few differences from the original version, just a bit classier around the tent. There's a video coming out on my channel soon, it'll be on the playlist. There's a direct comparison between the original version and this version, so look at that video if you want to know the real differences. This video is just going to be a really good look at this tent. You can buy this tent new from OEX for around £100–110. The RRP, I think it's something stupid like £200, but obviously it's a Go Outdoors brand OEX, so they've always got things on a permanent discount. So certain times of the year you should be able to get this for less than £100. Rest of the year, £100–110 is what you should be paying for this tent. However, one of the reasons I really like this little tent is the fact that you can find them used a lot. They often come up for sale for very little really compared to the original price, and I think for very little considering the sort of the quality and the strength that you're getting. So I paid £35 for this tent from Facebook Marketplace. It was absolutely brand new, still original tags, never been taken out the bag. You could see from the way it was folded, it was all factory original, all the guy lines were still folded originally. So 35 quid for a tent with aluminium poles, aluminium pegs, 5,000mm high striated head, you know, all the strength of this really low weight tent for £35. And that's not an exceptional price. I've seen them go for around that price before. Some have only been used a couple of times. So again, OEX being a kind of high street brand, you can get them in, I think, in millets and blacks, and also Go Outdoors. Quite a lot of people buy these as a first tent. They enjoy perhaps a bit of wild camping or whatever, but they think I want something a bit more space, or I want something for two people, and then you'll find these used for very little. So do look out for a real bargain with these, and let's have a proper look around it. The pack size, the Phoxx 1 V2 is pretty small. It'll pack into most backpacks, and it will certainly hook off the bottom. And it has got some strap loops as well. So there are two sets of those, so you can easily put a strap through it to make sure it's securely attached to your outside bag. I weighed it at 1.63 kilos, 1,630 grams. So that is a little bit heavier, I think, than the spec. I think the official spec is like 1.58. So it's slightly heavier than the original Phoxx 1, but it is slightly bigger. The OEX Phoxx 1 V2 is an inner pitched first tent. Comes with a nice set of aluminium little hook pegs, not too bad a quality and pretty lightweight. And it comes with two aluminium OEX Endura poles, and they are 7mm. So a bigger pole for the front, smaller pole for the back, and it's a really nice, quick and easy tent to pitch. Not that you need it colour coded, because one pole is clearly smaller than the other. They have got little silver marks on the one at the back, and then two little silver X's to let you know it goes in there. In terms of quality, they are pre-bent poles, bit of a gap along the top there, but you know, this is a fairly budget tent really, so you're going to expect not the world's best quality around the poles. This pole, the longer pole, has got a much neater, cleaner fit there, so again, just probably about a bit of quality control there. That's the inner pitched. As you can see, it is a very low, very compact, very small tent. Best thing of this tent is a halfway between a tent and a bivvy. So you get some of the benefits of the tent, so you get dual skin, a bit more space for your boots and your bag either side of the tent, and you get quite a lot of stability because it's very low slung, and you get some of the advantages of a bivvy in terms of it being fairly lightweight for the money. I mean, 1.6 kilos is by no means lightweight compared to some tents that you can get, but I think for the budget it's not too bad, and it packs down pretty small. But you do get a few advantages that you don't get with bivvies, but ultimately bivvies are going to be a lot lighter and a lot more compact than this. So yeah, it's an in-between tent, so it's difficult to know if it's going to suit you or not. So the head end has got a decent amount of mesh, and again, headroom's pretty good up here, so you're not going to be changing in absolute comfort, but you've definitely got a bit of room to move around at the top end. And obviously it's a bit wider as well, so you have got room around your shoulders, you've got room at the top to put a few bits and pieces. And yeah, it's not going to be the most spacious of tents, but it should be a reasonable tent to sleep in quite comfortably. But just bear in mind, yeah, getting change is not going to be easy. So if you've had a long wet walk, you're going to have to put up the inner first, then you've got to try and work out how you're going to get changed comfortably, probably before getting in the tent. But yeah, the quality and the feel of it is pretty nice. Really good, decent, high bathtub. There's a little vent at the back, larger vent here, so condensation shouldn't be much of an issue because where your head's going to be where you breathe in, you do have a substantial bit of mesh, but you've got enough protection around the sides. It should be pretty warm and should keep a lot of the wind out. So you can see from the rear of the tent how low it is. Nice and taut, little bit of mesh to give some airflow. And you can see even just with the inner pitch and a bit of a breeze, it's not going to go anywhere, especially when you've got the outer on it as well, smoothing off some guy lines out. So if you wanted a sort of budget tent, which I'd recommend in kind of bad weather and stuff, I think the Phoxx 1 V2 is a really good choice just because of how low it is. You know, the taller the tent, especially with budget tents, the weaker they're going to be, the more likely they're going to snap poles and blow away and get damaged. The lower they are like this tent, wind whipping over the top, especially if you pitch it at the back into the wind, it's going to be a really sturdy tent. I have camped in the original Phoxx 1. It was a bit breezy that night, absolutely no problems at all. Once the outer was on, whipped straight over. But as a summer tent, you could just pitch this inner only and be really comfy because you have got a lot of material on the inner, so you'd be pretty warm. As long as it wasn't raining, yeah, it'd be absolutely fine in this tent in the summer months. One feature that makes this tent a lot more usable is the fact the door opens the entire length of the tent. So in terms of getting in and out, that is a really good feature because you get really, really good access to the tent. And another feature I really like about the Phoxx 1 V2, same with the original version, is that you have a door on the other side. So it's not an access door because the fly sheet only has one door on it, but you open it up and you then have access to the bit of porch space on this side. So when I camped in the original Phoxx 1, I was able to open this up for my backpack along here and say the other porchway for my boots, so you can get in and out of the tent quite easily without tripping over your backpack. So this little extra door giving you access to some more porch space, to me it's a real game changer for this tent. If it didn't have this, it's not a great tent to sort of have for livability and stuff because there's just so little room. But with this little feature, getting your bag out here, it does massively increase the usability of the tent, so I really like that feature. Although I've just noticed this one here, the stitching's gone already and the clip has come off already. So yeah, you do hear sometimes OEX, the quality control is not the best. We've got an example of that now. So I will get my friend to sew that back on. That's the outer pitched. Good quality materials by the feel of it. All seam sealed, 5,000mm hydrostatic head and fire retardant. Most OEX tents have that kind of label on them. So it's going to be perfectly good for waterproofing. Not sure about the hydrostatic head on the ground sheet, but I'm imagining it's probably going to be at least 5,000mm because most OEX tents are. Good little tent. Nice little guy lines, nice little aluminium O-rings on them as well with a nice little X from OEX. So again, just some quite nice quality feel and finishes to it, albeit obviously one of the clip-on points has already failed due to just it hasn't been stitched basically. So yeah, quality control, perhaps not the best, but apart from that, the rest of the tent does look pretty good. As you can see, a nice little vent that you can Velcro open, or you can pull that down and Velcro it flat if the wind was coming from a different direction, or you're getting rain in, or it was too much breeze going through the tent. You can see from the design that you've got equal space on either side of the tent, and that space is accessible from both sides because you've got the internal door as well. So plenty of room here for a backpack on its side, and then plenty of room here for boots or bits and pieces that you want to have access to when you're getting in and out of the tent. The rear vent is protected by this little pull-out point. Should keep the rain from going into that, and obviously you can pitch it slightly further closer to the tent if you need to as well. You can put the guy lines down just to give it a bit more protection, or you could just go almost flat if you wanted to have that completely sealed. But you can see from the shape of the tent, there's a little bit of breeze today, but the wind just whips right over it. So if you're looking for a budget tent to be really strong in the wind, this is definitely one that is going to be that, just because of its shape and design and how low it is. In terms of interior space, yeah, you know, it is a very compact tent. You're not going to have masses of height. You've got enough height to move your head up a little bit and kind of just about manage to get in and out of clothes and stuff. It's not going to be a pleasure doing that, but it's definitely doable. The interior door that opens up into the second porch makes it a lot more usable in terms of having additional space. So this is just really a sleeping area. Your stuff can be out there and it should be absolutely fine just to sleep in. I have slept in the original Phoxx one, which I believe is a little bit smaller than this one. And that was absolutely fine. I had actually more space than I thought I was going to have. So I am 5'11", so my feet are pretty much touching the top of the bottom of the tent, and my head has absolutely tons of space. So this does feel longer than the original Phoxx one, and I think it is. But I've got plenty of space here. My head is directly beneath the mesh, so in terms of airflow and condensation, that's really good. And I would say I've got my arm completely outstretched, and that's just reaching the end of the tent. So from my head, I've got a good arm's length of room to put other bits and pieces. So actually, yeah, it's a pretty livable little tent. As a kind of bivvy style tent, you do have decent interior space. There's a little hanging point for a lamp as well. So yeah, a really comfy, decent little tent. And like I said before, this second door to enable the storage in the other porch is a real game changer. Get your bag in there, loads of stuff around your head that you need, your valuables. If you've got camera gear, that kind of stuff, keep it inside the tent with you. Chuck your boots in this little porch, happy days. I mean, you wouldn't want to cook like this, but I think you could probably hang your head out, you know, boil some water and stuff. But yeah, not a tent you want to spend a lot of time in, but as a sleeping pod, and to get all your stuff safely out of the wet, I think it's a really nicely designed little tent. For the full specs around the size, I will put them on screen at some point in the video, but I said I don't want to spend too long, like I don't want to get a measuring tape out or go overboard with that really. For me, I'm 5'11", I fit in this tent absolutely fine with just tons of headroom. Pretty much from here on is all headroom and space to store stuff. This space is a really good space. You get your boots in there, you can probably get a pack in there as well, but again, for me, pack the other side, boots in here. You know, if you're pitched in the rain, it's not absolutely ideal because it's obviously in the pitch first, but then balancing out, it's mostly solid material, so there's not too much water we get through as long as it wasn't raining too heavy and you weren't taking too long to put it up. But once you've got the outer on, I think you're going to be pretty well set for most weathers really, just because of the low height of the tent. It is decently guyed out with 4 guy out points. They do feel like good quality ones. All the material, you know, the stitching seems absolutely fine, apart from that one bit that wasn't stitched. Everything else feels well made. 5,000mm high straight head is going to keep you dry in whichever weather the UK can throw at you. And yeah, it might not be designed as a 4-season tent for a heavy snow load because this is going to get snow on it in sag loads, but for kind of cold, frosty weather without any snow, you should be really quite snug and warm in there. Yes, you've got a bit of mesh at the head end, but that's going to really help you in terms of condensation. I think you could pitch this quite low to the ground and be set for most weather conditions. Well, there we have it. That's the Phoxx 1 V2 little tent. Next thing to do, obviously get that one thing repaired, get that sewn back on properly so that the tent pitches absolutely perfectly, and then take it out for a wild camp. I'm looking forward to using it because I've used the original Phoxx 1. I got an absolutely fine with that, but this is definitely a little bit bigger, a few little better touches in terms of quality, the zips that won't let bugs in and the YKK, just little bits and features just seem a bit better in this tent. So I'm looking forward to taking it out for a test, and I'll probably go up into the Banai Brycheiniog and do a mountain camp in it because again, I've got lots of faith in this kind of design tent. I've used a few tents of the similar design in quite high winds. They're just so low, pitch them right, wind blows over the top, you're absolutely set. So if you do want to see me take it out for a wild camp, do subscribe to the channel and you'll see me out and about in it. And if you do want to know all of the ins and outs, the differences between the Phoxx 1 original and the Phoxx 1 V2, then do check out my playlist on tents because I've got a direct comparison between the two tents. If there's anything else I can help with around the tent, obviously I do own the tent currently, ask in the comments, I'll dig it out of the bag and let you know. But apart from that, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the comments.